Need a reminder of the good in the world? How about ways that you can make a difference, all while following your passions? Then you've come to the right place. Here on Be the Good with Kate, I have the honor of speaking with people from across the globe and such a wide array of backgrounds, all with the common bond of following what lights them up while making the world a better place along the way. My name is Kate Chericello Tente, and I am so grateful you are here. If something in this episode resonates with you, please reach out. I absolutely love hearing from you. And if you're willing to spread the word, sharing these good news moments with others, a share on social, comment, review, or a text to a friend about Be the Good with Kate, all goes such a long way. Thank you. I've learned so much from all the guests on Be the Good with Kate over the years, and I hope you leave here with some nuggets that stay with you too. Here's to making the world a better place in any way, shape, or form. Full disclosure that I have known today's guest for over 20 years. Nick Flatto is a Tony-nominated Broadway producer of Operation Mincemeat on Broadway. He is the director of Stranger Things musical. He is a playwright. He is a board member of Out of the Box Theatrics in New York City. And without exaggeration, one of my favorite people on this entire planet. Nick, where do I even begin with you? When you mentioned you wanted to come on to Be the Good with Kate, I was so thrilled. And so, you know what? I thought I would just start with a big question and we'll go from there. What do you hope people take away from our chat today?
What an extraordinary intro. I want you to follow me everywhere, and I'm very blessed to have you in my life where I get to spend time with you. So I hear your joy and positivity more than maybe other guests on the show. But thank you for that intro. Thank you for that question. I really believe this episode, like all of your episodes, is that mission of spreading the goodness, spreading the joy, spreading the light. I've known you for so long. I just was reminded 20 years, and you've always brought that beacon of light to others. And I feel like each of these episodes are specific ways to continue that mission of spreading the good, spreading the joy for people.
Well, thank you. And you see why, listener, Nick Flatto is one of those people that you are so blessed when he is in your life, just to steal your words right back, because he does. He lifts everybody up around him. And I have to tell you, reminded me of the story of when you first met my husband. We were walking up Ninth Avenue. And all of a sudden there was just like a scream, and it was my name, and it was Nick Flatto coming down the street. That's how he greets people. That is how you show up in the world, Nick. You are so full of life and joy, and you are just loving, like completely loving. How has that played into what you're doing now?
Yes. I am authentically a community builder, and that has happened without that intention. Just living my authentic positive self has brought community and growing community. I think you and I both met doing theater 20 years ago, and we were drawn to theater for the community it brings, the stories we're telling, the communities in those spaces. So that's what drew me to the art form. And now as a producer director building new worlds, it's all about community building. The artists that I get to the pleasure to work with, but also the audiences that come in, how do we build communities? And that's really, directly how I like to live my life and spread that joy and community moving forward.
And it's been apparent throughout all the years I've known you. And I'd love to highlight that a bit, because for someone who's listening who is trying to figure out where to go next in life, or maybe they have a passion, but they're not sure how they're going to make that passion into a career or a hobby or a way to give back. How did you create this journey? And because again, I knew Nick in high school when we were doing theater, and you went to New York as an actor, and now fill us in on how we went from there to here.
Yeah, I was again interested in theater at an early age, and there wasn't a clear path to find stability, find quote success, whatever that means for folks. But I also looked at other industries, and especially the economy today. And when we graduated college, any industry you were in, longevity was a difficult thing to find in any field. And I also think newer generations often are switching jobs more often than usual, where, grow in your company, but if your skill sets can be brought elsewhere, people are making that change. So I kind of looked to other industries and I said, it's as scary for any field to find the path. And if I'm going to, be struggling in that way, I want to live my truth and go into the arts and go into my heart, my community in that way. But it was a long journey. I've been a real estate agent. I worked at a jewelry company. I run a matchmaking service. How do we find stability? But it always came back to the arts and making and fighting every day to make it a full-time job. And with that, like you said, I came to New York as an actor. I realized I wanted to be a director, the whole story versus my instrument playing one role. And now producing and even writing every step of the way, I'm getting closer to that story that has the impact. I was one actor in a piece. Then I said, oh, maybe I'm a fine actor because I have a director brain. I'm thinking of the whole story. Humbly, I say that. There's pros and cons to having a director brain as an actor. But then producing now, uplifting other artists to tell their stories, and finally bringing my heart to the table as a book writer, playwright of an original musical. It took me a long time. You've known me 20 years to get closer and closer to the actual magical story that we're trying to tell. So that has been my journey, having the courage to get to the story. Mm-hmm. And it took that long.
Having the courage to get to the story, that's a framer of a quote there. I love that. And I love that you mentioned your skill set multiple times, because I know you and I have talked about this a lot, of those applicable skills. And, I always jokingly, but in all seriousness, say that actors make such great employees in so many ways, because the skill sets were interpersonal skills, the ability to think on our feet, the just making things look right when there might be chaos everywhere. There's so much to that. And you not only lent it to anywhere, you lent it to continuing to pursue your passion, what lights you up. And I also want to highlight, Nick is so family focused too. Like, you care so much about your family, both the blood family and your extended friend family. And I think that's also something to say, to overgeneralize. There is a stereotype in the arts of like, well, pushing everything else aside because we're focused on just the art and just the job and making the money. And you are not that at all. And yet you found a way to make money through this while still being, you look, even just looking at your Instagram, if someone doesn't know you, you see your niece and nephew, you see your husband, you see your parents, like, you're so invested. And was that just something that was always a part of your life, caring for your whole circle there?
It's synonymous. The familial community, quality I have in myself professionally comes directly from the familial way. And I want to go back to the point you made with actors make great employees. I will argue that all employees started as artists. This notion of we are born artists, we are born playing, we are born with imagination. And the artists strive, I want to say cling is the wrong verb, but we live in the imaginary. We live in the joy of what if. Right. And that, I believe, is a lot of the lightness that you're speaking to, of, buying flowers at the grocery store, buying blueberries, painting a wall in your house is creative, is artistry, is joy, is light. So it's all in us. And then we're told, hey, we have to pay rent and, maybe be a lawyer, whatever it may be. But we funnel that creativity into different industries. So I do believe I'm agreeing with you that artists are the best employees, but we're all artists in our hearts, and I think that's
such a great point.
I think that's what theater does, is you enter a space and you're reminded of that. It's a mirror of reality, but it's also a mirror of what life can be. Stop and smell those roses in that way. And I think that's what theater taught you and I, and what I want to keep pushing for. But to go to your question, I think my parents divorced when I was 7, 1995. And as a child at 7, as the son at 7, I had to navigate change, navigate something unknown, and had to figure out what this new family was and family unit was. And again, that's been 30 years now, but for 30 years of building, what are these new relationships through that trauma? We all face trauma. How do we what do we learn from it, and how does it carry us through adulthood? So I'm such a loving person because my existence since 7 years of age has been binding the love of a broken home. Divorce affects children in this way. I'm also 30 years later and can look back and say, I'm so glad these two people that once loved each other found their own lives in this way. You have to put the kids first. But that has been, just an example of using your trauma to bring goodness in yourself first, find that goodness in yourself, take the time to heal and mend, and then how do you give that to everyone else? So, I'm close with all of my family members, and it was getting through that trauma, all of us, how that event affected every person in my world. We've all had to grow and find anew and find that love. And I bring that to all of my friends, all of my colleagues. And I'm grateful for that because it instilled what love can do, that you can still find the love through anything. And it's also the perspective of, this is my household. Everyone has extremes of trauma. Other countries have extremes of trauma. How do we get through? And I always believe love wins. In the most, dire places, there's a quote I love that is dramatic, of course, but with death and destruction everywhere, which is the world, we still must risk delight. And this notion of, I have to say it slower, we still must risk delight. And with that delight, it's the love around you. You have to find the love. And that's the goodness that you bring out in others as well. And what this podcast and mission is all about.
Oh, thank you. That was so beautifully put. And thank you for sharing that too, Nick. I really appreciate it. Just really beautifully put. And talking about love wins, you are involved right now in your own project. Talk about the team that you are building this with, though, too. Share a bit about your focus and this musical that you're putting together.
Well, you're very sweet to talk about it. So it's taken me a decade to have the courage, again, to tell the story. And when I say story, it is my story. It is my heart. It is, what is the message I now, as a book writer, want to bring to the world. And for the past 37 years, it's been other artists that were family that I uplifted and fought to bring to the masses. Now it's my story. So thank you for asking about it. I am in a place in my life that I'm pinching myself that I can't believe I get to fight for my heart now. I've created an original musical that is a love story that happens to be between two men. And my mission is to present a 90-minute love story of two historical figures. I'll tell you about them in a way that is digestible to the masses and to people that might not identify as queer, to see that our love is as deep, tragic, joyful, beautiful, and pure as theirs. It's a scary mission to navigate of how do I get that out in a beautiful way. And I've assembled a team to make it happen. So I'm working with a composer lyricist. His name is Mateo Chavez Lewis. He's 26, from Toronto, Canada. And again, community brought all of these people to the table and continues to do so. And people are showing up because I believe they believe in me and in this piece and what our mission is together. So Mateo's our composer lyricist, the most gorgeous music I've heard. And this story is about renowned architect Philip Johnson, who's known for Lincoln Center, Seagram's Building, and most known for his glass house in New Canaan, Connecticut. Across the way, he built a brick house where he hid his secret gay partner for 40 years. So this story is navigating legacy, building buildings, building musicals, building our careers with love. What are these buildings without the love inside? What is growing a family with children, and how do we balance that with our careers? It's a universal theme that we're exploring through a gay love story. So that is my project, and we cannot wait to share it with the world in 2026. We presented 20 minutes 2 weeks ago, had fantastic response, and we keep fleshing this out. We're very excited for what's to come. So thank you for asking.
Oh, of course, Nick, I'm so excited for you. And just again, that reminder of you have the vision, you have the dream, you have that feeling inside that you need to do something, and you listen to it, and it took a lot of years of doing other things that were also a part of that greater mission. But it's not like you stepped out of college and were writing a musical for this. You have now landed on this, and this is this piece of your insanely long and amazing journey that's still to come too, and what's next. So I think that's amazing. And real quick, do you have a website up for the musical yet? Where can people just learn a little and keep up to date with it?
So we're keeping it very secret right now
Okay.
until we're ready for the full draft by the end of this year. We have about 7 or 8 songs. We know the outline of this piece, but we're not quite advertising what it is
Okay.
yet. It's mysterious. You'll hear about it soon. I have a theater company
Yeah.
called Velvet Stage Productions. That's both commercial producing for Broadway. We're looking at a few projects next season, but we also are looking to have a nonprofit charitable arm of this company that uplifts the queer artists, queer narratives, and the pieces we're trying to build all together. So Velvet Stage Productions, we have a website out there. Check it out. And we're building space. We're creating space for artists like myself and others to grow and build.
What was it to create this? Like
Sorry.
what did it take to build this?
I mean, it's this interview is such wonderful self-reflection for myself of the journey it takes, and I've been producing, I've been directing, but again, it's this selfless, how can I help others and how can I build community? My first Broadway producing credit was Operation Mincemeat this season, as you said. My name is above the title, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the community that came on board to invest and produce this show. Every show moving forward is now going to say Velvet Stage Productions. It is not about me. It is not about my ego. It is about what is this company that we can help grow to find funds for artists to do the same. I want to give back. Any dollar I make in the commercial realm is going to new work, is going to new artists. And hopefully with, the NEA being defunded and theater struggling nationwide, worldwide, I want to create a space for people to give back and to support and to supplement what these artists need. We need resources for the warriors in the artist sphere.
And I just want to note the producer aspect that you're not going to be using your name. If someone's not in the entertainment industry, maybe they're just not as used to you hearing about it. That's a really big deal because I know that so many of the producers use their names. Nothing wrong with that, but I think it says a lot when someone doesn't. And like you said, and I know there's a whole story behind the name as well and how it relates to everything. And I think that's really beautiful that you want that to be what's on the marquee and that you're creating this nonprofit aspect. So you're giving to the community, you're giving to the new artists, the new projects. It's just absolutely fantastic and incredible. And I can just say great things about Nick Flatto all day, though. But now, listener, you can too if you didn't know him beforehand. And, I'm curious, Nick, if someone is new to the theater scene, they have a love of it, they want to do something, maybe they're in the queer community and they're not sure where to look, where would you point them?
Great question. When we're talking about community, like I said earlier, there is no clear path to any career, but specifically the arts. It's hard to know where to turn and where to look for
It
next.
really is.
My advice is find your people, find your community, and you hear it often, but create your own work and your own worlds. When you're waiting for what's next, when you don't know where to go, what's next, look inward of what can I do today? What can I create today? And again, buying blueberries are for artists as well. Blueberries, flowers, painting a wall is creative.
Yes.
Go be creative because that's what brought you here. Um, and the other side of it is gain your fans. So find your people and then gain your fans, build the trust with your community. And it takes time. I'm an example of 20 years since knowing Kate, building what my small slice of the world in theater could look like. And it took every day of work and one email a day, one idea a day to build the garden I have. So it's a scary path. Find your people, email folks like myself, introduce yourself, say what you're up to and what your passions are, and keep finding your people, build those fans.
Great advice. And you just keep putting out, to use this word over and over again, the goodness. You keep putting out good, and you see how people have come back into your life, have stayed in your life, and have brought you different skills and different experiences and different parts of, teams that you've needed. It's so much has all come from your connections, which is really telling. And Nick, I have one more thing I want to ask you about before we wrap up, and that is, I love this term that you're using on your like personal description now, is theater architect.
Yeah.
Tell me about that phrase. That's just a great phrase. Yes.
Yeah, it's direct. Everything's connected for me. It's direct from this original musical, which is My Heart Today, which is Philip Johnson is an architect carving space for people to walk through, and the emotional narrative and emotional life of space is inherent in this piece. So I stole that term from Philip Johnson himself to say I'm an architect in the theater world. I'm a theater architect, and what that means for me is building sacred spaces for goodness, for community, for representation. And that's what theater can do is change minds and hearts. My husband's in the medical field and he's saving bodies every day, healing people. And I think we do equivalent work in the arts of saving souls, building souls, healing souls with the stories we're telling. And I do believe we are essential, this pandemic term of non-essential business versus essential. Artists are essential. So every day I'm an architect building space for this essential work to happen.
Beautifully put. And I'd like to challenge who's listening right now to think about that in your own life, right? We think about the book that you read that made a huge impact, the musical, the movie, the television show. What do you do after a long day? A lot of times it's go see entertainment or turn on a television or watch a video online. The arts, we have houses that are filled. Like you said, we painted a wall. Was it our art or was it a very expensive piece of visual art that you've purchased? The art is all around us and it impacts our lives and it helps us in so many ways. So I'd like to just challenge the listener to really just think about that today. And in the meantime, Nick, where can people find you online to connect?
I'm on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. So at Nick Flatto, Flatto. On Instagram, we have Velvet Stage Productions. Just started Instagram within the last month, 2 months now. Please say hello. I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you, Nick. This was just such an extra treat today.
The best. Thanks
for tuning in. If you found this helpful, a 5-star review, like, or comment means the world to me. And if you found insight in this episode, chances are someone else will too. Share with a friend to give them a boost today. Until next time, I'm Kate Chiaratello-Tente, and this was Be the Good with Kate.